The Detroit Pistons are not in the playoffs this year, but there's plenty of former Pistons that are in the playoffs. Even though there's not as many due to the Clippers not being in the playoffs, the Pistons of the West, we're still going to do a ranking of former Pistons that are currently in the playoffs. Stay tuned and make sure you let me know in the comment section down below if you guys have any rooting interest for some of these former Pistons. Stay tuned for today's episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Johnson with 1 second to go.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I'm your host, Kuka Hill. You can find me over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. And if you haven't already, or if you're one of the 50% of people who are watching this on YouTube and have not hit that subscribe button, make sure you guys go head over there to Locked On Pistons YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. We're also on the road to 3,000 subscribers. So again, head over there, hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. But on today's episode, we are going to be ranking former Pistons that are currently in the playoffs. So we're recording this as of April 22nd. Obviously, there will be no series that will be finished off by the time you guys listen to this. But a few games happening tonight as we're recording this, a few game threes. So we're going to be going just based off right now. We're not going to be including the play-in either because the play-in had the Pistons of the West. And that includes literally like 8 former Pistons that literally were starters for years. So we're not going to include them. We're going to talk just these top 8 teams. And to do that with me, we brought friend of the podcast, Hal, onto the Locked On Pistons podcast today for a weekend episode. Hal, how you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm glad to be back. I'm sad I don't get to talk about the Clippers. That's like half our content just right out there because the playoffs don't or the play-ins rather don't count as playoff games. I'm sorry.
The Clippers literally have like 20. They have like 20 Pistons. Like their entire roster is full of Pistons.
Reggie, Luke, and Marcus Morris are just all off the table. That's a lot of content down the drain.
Exactly, man. I'm not gonna lie. When I very first pitched this idea to myself, I was envisioning those guys being a part of the list. Then I was like, oh wait,
it's a lot easier.
Oh wait, I was like, oh wait, they're not in the playoffs. Oh no, is there even 10 people from the Pistons that are currently in the playoffs? But there is. So, however, though, we're not going to do 10 players because a lot of these players are currently not even playing games. Like they're not even getting any rotational minutes. Players like Blake Griffin, Greg Monroe, Boban, Svi Mikhailuk, like these guys aren't even getting minutes for their team. So we're not going to do a top 10. So we're going to do a top 7 former Pistons currently in the playoffs, strictly based off like how they've turned into the players they are now, not based off rooting interest, not based off who you want to win, who you're still rooting for, etc. Just based off what they are as a player as of right now. So we're going to start from the bottom, number 7, and work our way all the way up. We'll probably do like 3 players per segment. And then the last segment, we'll be talking about the top guys. I honestly think once we get into the middle of this is where me and Hal will be having a lot of disagreements because I know what Hal's list is, and we're a little different here, so it's gonna be a fun episode. So number 7,
yet, so that's good.
Yeah, me and Hal usually don't disagree on a lot of things.
No.
So this
too many handshakes, not enough punches.
All right, so number 7, Hal, who do you got at number 7 currently in the playoffs as a former Piston?
DeLon Wright. We got to give a special shout out to Markieff Morris first though.
Okay.
Because he's the one guy who's got DNPs right now who should probably be playing if he didn't have that weird injury from that Jokic foul. The rest of the DNP guys are DNP guys for a reason. Markieff probably is getting minutes if that didn't happen. So a special like 8th place shout out for Markieff.
Shout out Markieff.
But I think number 7 has to be DeLon Wright.
All right, I agree with you. I had DeLon Wright number 7. Again, there's a lot of guys that were just straight up DMPs. I low-key was not expecting Blake Griffin to just like become nothing this year for the Brooklyn Nets, but that's the case. I know Tony Snell. Didn't Tony Snell like get like 2 minutes or something? And what was it?
He played in the play-in, but not the playoffs.
Yeah, so Tony Snell, usually the dude that just runs around, does nothing for a minute, has those stat lines.
I believe he got a full Tony Snell, which is a 0-0-0-0 stat line. I believe he got a Tony Snell in the play-in game, which is why he's not playing anymore.
Fair enough, but I agree with you. I got DeLon Wright 7, and to be honest, DeLon Wright actually played a key role, and I believe it was in their play-in game where he went in and was playing some actually pretty damn good defense for them. He was making a difference. I even got a shout out like on the broadcast multiple times for like changing the turn of one of the games. I forget which game it was. But yeah, he actually is making an impact over there in Atlanta. So we'll give him credit. It's not a bad thing to be last place on this list at number 7. I just don't think
you get in the playoffs. You've got minutes. You're doing something right.
correct.
For me, I kind of ordered this list as like, who would I want to like draft to like be on my playoff team if I needed to. That was kind of my thought process. And for DeLon, it's just like, all right, he's a rim pressure machine. He's not a great shooter. He's an okay shooter. He's an okay defender. I just think like he's probably the most replaceable player we're going to talk about. So
Yeah,
he gets my 7th spot.
No, yeah, I completely agree with you. I got DeLon Wright number 7. And again, props to him for getting minutes on a playoff team. He's done some things good for them, but he's going to come in last year. All right, so this is immediately where we start with the disagreements right here. I actually think that I'm going to shock Hal with mine. But Hal, I'll let you go. Who do you have at number 6?
Bruce Brown. So again, my thought process was like, who am I drafting? Who's the most replaceable player? And like, I love Bruce. Love Bruce. One of the few players I've had a chance to like talk to in person once when he was at the Drive. Great guy. Short roll playmaking. His rim finishing is really taking a step. A good defender, but just like and a good corner shooter now too. Like his corner 3-point percentage has gone up, but just like again, probably one of the most replaceable players we'll talk about today. Like if he's really good for the Nets because the Nets are a weird team. But like if I was just drafting a team out of these guys, probably 6th or 7th because I just like you can get a wing just about anywhere.
All right, fair enough. So he got Bruce number 6. I do not have Bruce number 6. I'm gonna shock some of you guys. I'm gonna shock some of you guys with this answer. I got Andre Drummond number 6.
Okay.
So I got Andre number 6. Now, so it may be because he's a little, he's on the Brooklyn Nets, so he's not going to be asked to like put up monster stat lines or be given the chance to try to put up some monster stat lines like he used to in Detroit. I think Andre's gotten worse. I think he's lost some athleticism since leaving Detroit. I don't think he has that type of, at least the type of athleticism he had when he was here. I still think he's a really good player. I think what happened to him in LA and all that's everything that was surrounding him in Cleveland with whether he's a good player. Everyone questioned whether he actually can contribute to winning. I never bought that. I thought that was stupid. I think he's actually was playing. I think this last game Brooklyn lost in game 2. I thought he played really well for them. So I this is not to say Andre sucks. And I've said on the podcast multiple times, I'd be completely for signing him as a backup center, maybe starting center now that he's accepted this type of role. And now that the Pistons have like a clear guy and a clear like, order of who's the guy who on offense, all that kind of thing. So now that they have that, I'd be fine with bringing Andre back. I actually think he would fit really well. But I think he's gotten a little worse since leaving Detroit. I think he's still limited offensively, obviously. Defensively, he's still a little too inconsistent. But I still think he's a really good player, a really solid player. But I just don't think I think there's 5 other players currently in the playoffs that are former Pistons that are simply more, I would say, more valuable than him at this point.
So here's what I disagree with you. I think defensively he's actually pretty good. Now he's limited, right? You're going to play him in a drop. You're going to you might hedge with him, but you're not going to switch with him. And so that like limits some of his value. I think offensively he's actually gotten better. I think he's even more savvy when it comes to like the dribble handoff game. You're seeing the Nets when he's on the floor. They're running everything through Andre Drummond, right? It's all give the ball to Andre at the elbow, and then it's Kevin or Kyrie doing some shake and bake off the ball to try and free themselves up. And his delivery, his ability to make the right pass in those situations has been pretty key for the Nets. The difference between them before that trade and after, huge. Now, I think defensively, when he makes mistakes and when he screws up, noticeable, so I think that hurts his reputation more than it should. But the Nets are like a significantly worse team if he's not there. And I think that those skills plug and play into like every team. Every team can play Andre Drummond for 20 minutes and be fine with that, especially early in the playoffs. So I have him at 4 personally on my list.
All right. I agree that he has definitely gotten better with some. Stan Van Gundy was pointing it out on the broadcast. Some of his short roll passing to the corner and stuff like that's some stuff that he's gotten better at.
He's been so fancy this playoffs. Some of these short roll passes, he's putting some spin on it, and so it's just like Andre, why? You did not need that, but okay. It's trying to like build up a game breaker or something. I don't get it.
Andre is definitely one of those players, one of the former Pistons I'll always root for and want to see win.
Always.
I'll always be a fan of Andre. I really like Andre. And again, I'd like to see him back in the Pistons now that he's accepted a lesser role and has kind of found a role to be in moving forward. But yeah, I disagree with how I have him at 6. We'll talk about who I have ahead of him when we come back from the ad break. Again, we have 5. I believe we have 5 more players, right? 5 more players to rank here. So stay tuned. We'll be telling you guys number 5 when we come back from the ad break. But first, I have to tell you guys about one of our sponsors, TrueBill. Did you know why free trials renew without your consent? It's a business scam out to get you. Don't let greedy corporations pocket your money. Download TrueBill to take control of your subscriptions. TrueBill is a new app that helps you identify and stop paying for subscriptions that you don't need, want, or simply forgot about. On average, people save up to $720 a year with TrueBill. Because companies make subscriptions hard to cancel, TrueBill makes it incredibly simple. Just link your accounts, and TrueBill will cancel your unwanted subscriptions in just one tap. And your TrueBill concert is there when you need them to cancel unwanted subscriptions, so you don't have to. TrueBill also has over 2 million users that have helped them save over $100 million. And like Matthew B says, quote, in a matter of seconds, I saved $660 for the year on my DirecTV bill, saved $120 for my Sirius XM bill, and saved $840 a year on car insurance, end quote. So don't fall for the subscription scams. Start canceling today at truebill.com/lockedonnba. Go right now to truebill.com/lockedonnba. It can save you thousands a year. Again, that's truebill.com/lockedonnba. Then let me tell you about another one of our sponsors, your guys' favorite sponsor, Built Bar. This is the time of year that I've pretty much given up on all my New Year's resolutions, but not this year. I'm sticking to my resolution to eat right, and it's thanks to Built Bar. It almost feels like it's not even really a resolution because I actually enjoy eating them. Have you tried the Puff Bar? If you haven't, you're missing on one of Built Bar's best tasting protein bars. Puffs are the first ever protein infused marshmallow. They're fluffy, they're marshmallowy, they're not just a protein bar, they're an absolute treat. And they're covered in 100% real chocolate. But it's not just the Puff Bars, it's all Built Bars that are covered in 100% real chocolate. However, they're still low calorie and high in protein. Replace your candy bar with these. They taste better and they're strictly just better for you. A typical candy bar can be anywhere to 200 to 300 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. If you go to built.com and scroll to the macros chart, you'll be absolutely blown away. High protein, low calories. High fiber, low carbs. Most Built Bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. And while making them so healthy for you, they have all kinds of flavors that make it delicious as well. Mint brownie, coconut almond, new flavor this month, white chocolate cookies and cream. You got the peanut butter flavor, which is my favorite. You got raspberry, strawberry, blueberry, all kinds of flavors, cherry barcia. If you're checking out built.com all the time, you'll see more limited time flavors that feel like they're coming out every other week. At Built Bar, they're all about the taste. They make it delicious first, then figure out how to make it healthy. I don't know how, but they pull it off every single time. So go to built.com and use promo code LOCK15 and get 15% off your order. Again, use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at built.com. Built Bar, the best tasting protein bar ever. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. And if you haven't already, head to our YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button. On the way, there are 3,000 subscribers, continuing to show Locked On to be the best and fastest growing fan base at the Locked On Network. So again, head to the Locked On Pistons YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. So Hal, I have 2 things that actually I want to ask you just real quick. And actually, I want to tell you guys, the listeners, something real quick as well. I want you to tell me in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Kookahill, you're ranking our former Pistons that are in the playoffs, our former Piston that you guys are still finding yourselves root for. And if you had to pick one former Piston to win the championship this year, who do you want to see it happen? Let me know all that in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Kookahill. But Hal, there's a real fun question real quick. Every time you come on the podcast, like, is it like a game to you to like see which ads it is I'm gonna read during the ad break? Like, are you sitting there like trying to figure out which one I'm going with?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Figure out how long they're gonna run. Yeah, all that. I don't know how much time I get to take up. That's
like,
what I gotta figure out.
The reason why I thought about it, because as I said, your guys' favorite sponsor, I just wanted to know if like in your head you're like, oh, that's Built Bar, here we go. I see.
Yeah,
this
of course. Yeah. I know all the reads.
Fair enough. I just wanted to know that. Okay, so we have number 7 and number 6. I have DeLon Wright, and number 6, I have Andre Drummond. Hal has DeLon Wright, and then 6, Bruce Brown. Now we go to number 5. Number 5, Hal, who do you got as the 5th best former Piston in the playoffs?
Reggie Bullock. So you got a guy, a tall, lanky shooter, just a really, really, really good shooter, right? Shoots off movement, shoots off the catch. Um, I think he's over 40% in the playoffs this year. And then a guy whose defense comes and goes. I think he's pretty much match dependent. Good lord. When he's defending length and he's able to just kind of be long, I think he's okay. He can get bullied a little bit, but a plug and play wing for just about any team, right? And just about anybody can use Reggie Bullock for 20, 30 minutes a night. So yeah, I've got him at number 5.
All right, so me and you agree here. I got Reggie Bullock number 5. For what you say, he's shooting over 40% in the playoffs right now. He's shooting 47% from deep on 6.3 attempts from deep for Dallas through 3 games. That's insane. Reggie Bullock was one of those finds that Stan Van Gundy got that he turned into a really damn good player. He's a player that every team in the NBA would want on their team. The Pistons would absolutely love to have him on the team right now. They need his shooting. Every team needs his shooting. Like you said, his defense comes and goes sometimes. I remember earlier in his career with the Pistons, it was solid. I feel like it kind of tapered off a little bit towards the end of his career with the Pistons. But yeah, he knows how to play. He's going to play within the offense. He can shoot lights out from deep. He's not going to try to do anything he can't do. He's not going to go out there and try to stall an offense. He's not going to do anything stupid. He knows what his job is. He comes out there, he shoots threes, he defends, he shoots threes off movement, off dribble handoffs. Like that's what he's going to do. He knows what he's going to do, and he's going to do it really well. So a very solid player. And you guys know I like players, and you guys will probably know this because of how I've talked about Isaiah Livers on the podcast, but I really, really love players. I think these type of players are absolutely key to having a great team. Players who just simply know what they're good at. They're not going to try to stop the offense. They know how to play. They're going to make the extra pass. They're going to play, keep the ball moving and do what they do and not try to do anything else. I think those players are key for a playoff team, a winning team. And I feel like Reggie Bullock fits that. He's a guy that any team would want on their team. So I got him at number 5 as well.
His those like overhand entry passes he threw were like one of my favorite, just like little like tendencies from players. Just it was one of those things where like you knew that if a guy was open in the post, Reggie Bullock would immediately catch and fire that thing 2 hands over his head into the post. Perfect post entry every time. Just one of those little things that stands out because nobody else moves it quite that fast. Really enjoyed Reggie's time here.
Yeah, and let me say one thing about his time here that I really liked. His dribble handoffs with Blake in that half season they were there.
Oh,
Him and Blake absolutely had a mega chemistry going on over there. They were dominating those dribble handoffs.
And you talked about that trade. That was the second rounder turned into Xavier Tillman for Marcus Morris and Reggie Bullock and Danny Granger's contract.
SVG did a good job with trades. He just sucked in free agency.
Yes,
it is what it is, man. He just sucked in free agency.
Probably should have hired a doctor or two.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so number 4 on your list, Hal. Who do you got?
So I mentioned it earlier. I had Andre Drummond here.
Okay, go ahead and explain why you have him number 4. I know you said a little bit about it earlier, but you can.
I just think everybody can use rim protection and a good dribble handoff guy, and you'll play 15, 20 minutes of that every night.
All right, so number 4, I got Bruce Brown here at number 4. So I feel like Hal, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like Hal kind of undersold Bruce Brown a little bit here with his ranking here. So I know the common thing about Bruce Brown that people say is that he's just playing for the Nets. He wouldn't do this for another team. I completely disagree with that. Not every player can do the things Bruce does. Bruce is a Swiss Army knife. And by the way, he should have never left the Pistons. The trade that they did with the Nets is the worst move. Yeah, it's the worst move Weaver will probably ever make. He's done a bunch of nice moves. Okay, he's fine, but that right there will be like the worst move. And I refuse to believe he doesn't regret it at least a little bit. But anyways, I don't believe Bruce just does this because he's on the Nets. I don't think the Nets would have. The Nets are lucky to have Bruce. I don't think any other player could simply do the things that Bruce is doing for them. They're not going to find many guards or 6'4", 6'5" guys who are able to play pick and roll and be excellent in the floater range. I don't know where he became. You saw flashes of it with the Pistons, but his floater game, I believe last time I looked at, he was in like the 90th percentile on synergy in floaters. Like, it's insane how efficient he is with it. So there's not many guards that can play pick and rolls and make floaters out of a little short roll. There's not many guards that can also play the pick and roll and make short roll passes to the corner, lobs, etc. You saw the lobs with Nicholas Claxton. Now he's become a really good outside shooter from the corners. I believe he's shooting 40% from, he's shooting 40% from deep this year. It's not like on insane volume, but he's shooting 40% from deep nonetheless. His rookie year with the Pistons, he shot 39% from the field. He's shooting 50% from the field now. He's an insane defender. His finishing got better around the rim. Oh, and by the way, if you want him to handle the ball a little bit and try to be a point guard and facilitate, he can do that too. Like, he's just a Swiss Army knife that you can literally plug and play everywhere. So is he benefiting from playing with the Nets? Obviously. Is he benefiting from playing with KD and Kyrie? Obviously. But they're also benefiting from having him. Like, there's not many players that can simply go out, you can just plug in and be like, hey, do all these things for us. Bruce is one of those players. He's a Swiss Army knife. He can do so many things for you, and he's extremely athletic. I just love everything about Bruce. He literally can do anything that you want to ask him to do, he'll go out and do it. Like, one of my favorite things to point out about him is that, like, after the Pistons traded Andre, Dwayne Casey came out and said, oh, we need some rebounding. Oh, well, there you go. Bruce just became the only Piston ever to, like, get double-digit rebounds in 5 straight games after that. Like, it's just like, you ask him to do something, he'll go out and do it. I really love Bruce. I'll always root for Bruce. I think he's turned himself into a really, really damn good player. And I think he's going to get really paid this offseason. So I have Bruce number 4. That's where me and Hal's biggest disagreement there.
I don't disagree. I just think, like, it's a team that can unlock all of Bruce. Right? Like, the Nets are definitely getting more out of it. Like, if he was on the Mavericks, would the Mavericks trade him for Reggie Bullock? No way. Right? I just don't think they would. You know, he reminds me a lot of Gary Payton the second on the Warriors, right? Just the way that team enables him to be the best. You know, we get to see this really awesome Gary Payton that could barely make the league for so many years because nobody else could figure it out. So I think there are teams where, like, Bruce Brown is going to be awesome, and there are teams where Bruce Brown's going to look a little useless. And, you know, we're all lucky that he's on the Nets and obviously having a lot of fun.
All right, so let's move on to the next one. I believe we're at number 3, right? Number 3? Okay, so number 3, who do you got? Who do you got, Hal? I'm just going to go ahead and spoil this for you guys. We got Chris Middleton, Spencer Dinwiddie, and Tobias Harris left. Who do you got number 3?
It's Tobias for me. A good shooter, right? A bit of a defensive liability at times. A guy you really have to figure out schematically what you're going to do with him, because I think he's actually been pretty good so far in this year, but there have been series where he just gets eaten alive. But I mean, I think he's averaging with the Sixers, he's averaging like 29 and 3, something like that, which is just, you know, really great stable numbers for a guy, you know, a third option. The contract, I think, is probably the biggest downside for him, and that's not his fault, certainly. So just a solid, good power forward that fits everywhere. I think anybody would be happy to have Tobias Harris.
All right, so this will be the last one we rank, and then we'll go to another ad break. But this is where me and Hal have a little disagreement here too. I have Spencer Dinwiddie at number 3. So this is not, again, he's number 3, so he's in a good spot. Okay, everyone, just give me a break if you guys disagree. Whatever. He's number 3.
The Dinwiddie hive is coming for you.
Oh no, I know.
They're after both of us, but I just managed to push them your way a little bit more.
So Spencer Dinwiddie, he's playing really well for them in the playoffs, and he just had a really damn good game. I believe the day before we're recording this, against the Jazz, he had a really damn good game. Had a few closeout like threes that just shut them out, and he obviously dunked on Rudy Gobert. So he's having a really good series. He's played well for them. I just feel like that Spencer is. I'm trying to figure out like the nicest way to say this. I feel like Spencer is a little bit more inefficient than Tobias, and I feel like if I have to pick between the two, I feel like I know I'm getting more out of Tobias. And I feel like I know how to get more out of Tobias. I feel like Spencer is just his inefficiency. Like, before he came to Dallas, he was really having a bad year. Like, he was struggling mightily. And then he got to Dallas, and obviously he's playing a lot better. And he's having a good series right now. But I struggle to read too much into that against the Jazz, because the Jazz perimeter defense is one of the worst perimeter defense of all time I've seen in the playoffs. It's like awful. But I got Spencer number 3, though. He's a really damn good player, too. He's turned himself into a really good player next to Luka, next to Jalen Brunson. So I'm sure they love to have him, obviously, as a third guard. He's a tall guard that can play like the 3 for guys, or on defense at least. So I like Spencer, but I don't have him number 2, or not. I don't have him ahead of Tobias. I have Spencer at number 3. So when we come back, we'll talk about who we have in number 2 and the number 1 spot. I think you guys might know where we're going here, but it might be a little bit of a game here. So let me know what you guys think is going to happen in the comment section down below. But first, I had to tell you guys about another one of our sponsors, Shady Rays. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that gives you the features of $200 sunglasses for a fraction of the price. That means polarized lenses, well-constructed durable frames, and premium high-end finishes. Also, something you won't find anywhere else is Shady Rays' insane protection program. Shady Rays includes lost and broken protection on every single pair. They will send you a brand new pair if you lose them, no matter what happened. Give them a try, and if you don't love them, you'll pay basically nothing. It's as simple as that. Plus, 10 meals are donated to fight hunger in America when you shop with Shady Rays, so that's always a great thing too. Exclusively for our listeners, head to shadyrays.com and use code LOCKEDON to get 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. That's code LOCKEDON for their best deal of the season. 50% off 2 or more pairs of Shady Rays sunglasses backed by over 150,000 verified 5-star reviews. Again, go to shadyrays.com, and if you shop with Shady Rays, not only can you use our code Locked On, again, 10 meals are donated to fight hunger in America when you shop with Shady Rays. That's shadyrays.com. Use code Locked On. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to our YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button. You guys get all that jazz. I'd really appreciate it. Best way to support the podcast, yada, yada, yada. And if you guys are watching or listening to this on the Apple Podcast, go on the reviews down below. Leave a 5-star review. You guys can leave a question, all kinds of things. You want something in the mailbag if you're watching or listening to this. I don't know why I keep saying watching. Listening on the podcast platforms. You want to hear your question answered in one of the mailbags, go on the 5-star reviews. Yes, I said 5-star reviews. Don't leave anything less than a 5-star review. And leave your question down there, and I'll be sure to answer your question on the next mailbag. But let's finish this off, Hal. Who do you have at number 2 on the list for top 7 former Pistons currently in the playoffs?
Shockingly, it's Spencer Dinwiddie, right? I have him a little bit ahead of Tobias. I just think rim pressure is one of those things that's really hard to find. And, we hadn't seen the best from Spencer for the last couple of years because he had that ACL injury again, which sucks. But he's really strong so far for Dallas. 24 and 7 assists so far this year. A tough shot taker, a tough shot maker, a guy who's maybe not quite as efficient as you'd like. But rim pressure and then the ability to create assists out of it, right? That's everything, right? If you're doing that in the playoffs, that's the highest value skill the NBA has, is the ability to generate assists for other people, generate 3-point assists especially. So I just think that skill set's so valuable. He's fit well into Dallas. I don't think the gap between him and Tobias is that big, certainly, but I just think that's the harder skill set to find. He's not anything special defensively, but neither is Tobias. So I didn't feel bad picking him over Tobias.
So I'm going to have Tobias number 2. Now, if this was Tobias playoff last year or how he was playing last year, I probably would have Spencer if that was the case. But I feel like Tobias has been really good for them this year, specifically so far in the playoffs. Tobias in the playoffs right now is shooting 63% from deep, 58% from the field. He's averaging 19, 9, and 3 for them. Obviously, it's just through 3 games.
You're going to turn me into the sample size guy.
Yeah, I know.
I'm trying not to be the sample size guy, but holy cow.
No, it is the same. No, it is. It's only 3 games, but it's through the playoffs so far. He's played really well for him so far. And it is against Toronto. They're up 3-0 on Toronto, I know, but Toronto's not like it's not like some scrubs out there. They got some nice wings out there. They're not some trash bags out there. I'm honestly shocked that they're down 3-0, by the way. I did not expect them to be down 3-0. I thought they would at least make it a series.
That's a rough matchup for Embiid, but on the other hand, as far as Tobias is concerned, you'd think that would be a really hard team for Tobias to play against, right? That's a team specifically built to guard guys.
Yeah, exactly. So I like what I'm seeing from Tobias, and over the season, I feel like he's played really, really well for them too. He's averaging 17 points a game for them this year. Basically what he's always averaged. He's always in that same ballpark, 17, 6, and 3 for him. I think he's been really good. I just like the fact I like Tobias a little bit more than Spencer. Obviously, Spencer, like you said, generates more rim pressure and will be able to have some more driving kicks, which is really valuable. But I just like Tobias a little bit more because he's a bigger guy who's really, I think he's pretty efficient. He can score from beyond the arc. He's like a 3-level scorer. I don't like the fact that he's not able to create for himself as much as I'd like. But the fact that he's able to score around the rim, he's able to score from mid range, he's able to post up smaller matchups, he's able to shoot from beyond the arc, which I think that's what really set his career off. Like earlier in his career, he wasn't consistent at all from deep. Now he's like, I feel like, what was it, like his last season in Detroit when it really like took off for him from three, and he hasn't looked back since. So having that 3-level scoring ability, I would rather have Tobias on my team than Spencer. I know Spencer generates, like you said, a lot of pressure at the rim and was able to drive and have a lot of driving kicks, but his inefficiency, it kind of scares me away from him a little bit more over Tobias. But it's close between those two. But I number one, I don't think there's any real like point to even try to like make an argument out of this or like try to do anything crazy about this. We know who number one is. It's Chris Middleton. So if you want to take a chance, Hal, and just worship Chris Middleton for a little bit, you can go ahead. But I don't think there's much that we're going to disagree with here.
I think it's kind of shocking. Chris Middleton's like one of the most underrated players in the game, right? This is a guy who's a multi-time All-Star, won a title last year, and does everything, right? Has the crafty handle, isn't like the best like north-south explosive athlete, but gets to his spots whenever he wants. Super efficient from everywhere. Defends the heck out of the ball. A good, not like an elite playmaker, but can run pick and rolls, who can make plays, certainly who can kick out when he draws attention, just does everything on the floor. Great second option, maybe even a third option, depending on how you feel about Drew Holiday. But, he won a title, right? As one of the most important players on the floor. You can't discount that. He's great. Certainly the Pistons, you got to think are ruining the day they traded him away. But also, I think an interesting guy that like I don't think a lot of Pistons fans root for him the same way as they do other players. I don't know if you get the same sense that just like I said earlier, like I get the Dinwiddie hive in my mentions all the time, and I don't get the Middleton hive in my mentions. Maybe it's because I'm not slandering Middleton all the time, but you don't see him brought up by Pistons fans the same way as Dinwiddie or even Tobias and some of the other players, which I think is just kind of crazy because, like we're saying here, he's the best of the bunch.
Yeah, so I think the reason why he doesn't get as much love because he didn't really play here. Like he had the injury, and then we didn't even really see much from him at all when he was here, and then he was just basically a throw into a trade. So I don't feel like anyone really had that kind of connection with him. But I mean, he's obviously number one. I actually feel like that there was a little bit of an overcorrection that happened with him during the playoffs last year. Like he went from being way underrated, and I even was cracking jokes at one point. I'll admit it. I call him glorified KCP. I was
That's very naughty. That's very naughty.
I was trolling him a little bit. Had to get my jokes off. You feel me? But he's very clearly the best one. And after being underrated for so long, you even had like people trying to call him Batman to Giannis's Robin during the playoffs last year. So the overcorrection started to happen to where people actually were trying to say he was Finals MVP over Giannis, and that was it was getting a little ridiculous. But either way, Chris Middleton is by far the best.
That's ridiculous. That's insane. Did you all watch that playoffs?
Like it was wild. It was wild what was going on. So, but either way, Chris Middleton is the best former Piston in the playoffs. I don't think it's any close at all. He's close to a fringe All NBA talent, multi-time All-Star. The closer, basically one of the closers, if not the closer for the Bucks. Really nice player, able to score from all three levels. We all know Chris Middleton's great. So Chris Middleton tops our list off with the top former Pistons currently left in the playoffs. I'm not going to lie, Hal, at the end of this, before we wrap it, I just got to say, it's not as fun without the Clippers guys, man. It's not as fun without Reggie, Luke, and Marcus, man.
Where on the list does Reggie go for you?
2 or 3, 2 or 3. Probably 3. Actually, no, I lied.
If I've got Spencer Dinwiddie 2, he's probably got to be 3, right? So
I got
2 or 3.
The thing is with Reggie, I would have Reggie ahead of Spencer simply because Reggie turned into a psychopath in the playoffs, dude. So it's I'm not even I know people troll. There's plenty of players that are like, oh, well, them in the playoffs, and they just discount 82 games of the regular season, which is stupid. But Reggie's the one rare exception. Wow, I'll fight tooth and nail that dude literally the way he plays in the playoffs is good enough for me to just forego wherever he does in the regular season. He literally just turns into a psychopath in the playoffs. So
He's great.
yeah.
You asked earlier who you want to see win a title. He'd be one for me. I
Oh
would
yeah.
love to see
Actually, let's finish it off
Reggie
with
win
that.
one.
Let's finish it off with that. So Hal says Reggie is the one guy he would want former Piston to win a championship. Actually, you have Reggie. He's not technically in the playoffs, so pick one of these guys that are in the playoffs that you'd pick.
It'd have to be Andre if it wasn't Reggie.
All right, fair enough. Mine's Andre as well.
Yeah, I got too many takes, cemented in on those guys being pro Andre and being pro Reggie and kind of standing against the tide there. So getting just a little bit more validation for those takes wouldn't hurt.
Fair enough. See, I want Andre to win somewhere, but I really don't like the Nets at all. I hate the Nets. I don't. Yeah. I'm not a KD fan. I really don't like Kyrie. So.
Oh, I love KD. Kyrie, I can't stand him, but I love Kevin Durant, and you got to respect Kyrie's talent. Can't stand the person.
Of course, I just can't find myself to root for them. This is what it is, man.
It's hard. It's hard.
All right, Hal. Thank you for coming on, man. I appreciate
Anytime.
it. Make sure you guys go check out Hal on Twitter @HalBridius. Thank you guys for listening to today's podcast. Let me know who you guys' top 7 former Pistons are that are in the playoffs in the comment section down below or over on Twitter @KukaHill. Again, thank you for making today or Locked On Pistons your first listen of today. Make sure you guys are making Locked On NBA your second listen from the first jump ball of the play-in tournament to the last position of the finals. Locked On experts take you deep inside the playoffs with insight and analysis affecting all 30 teams. Make sure you guys head to the YouTube channel @Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. And until next week, I'll see you guys later. Enjoy the playoffs this weekend. The playoffs have been absolutely freaking amazing. The NBA has probably as much parity as I can possibly remember. It's so open right now with so many teams. So enjoy the first round. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to go watch these games. I know Hal is now that we're getting off here. So I'll see you guys later. Stay safe, everybody. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the playoff games. I'll see you next time.